The smallest signs of stress in your dog are often the ones you dismiss first. Not the barking, not the shaking, not the obvious moments that make you stop and pay attention. The lip lick, the yawn that seems to come out of nowhere, the little things they do while you are standing there thinking everything is fine. Most owners miss these moments, not because they do not care, but because the signals look so harmless that they never realize their dog may be speaking before the behavior gets big. Most owners get these moments wrong, not because they are careless, because the signals are so small that the mind files them under nothing. A quick lip lick, a yawn in the kitchen, a little mouth movement while you are clipping the leash or standing by the door in your shoes after work. It looks ordinary, so you treat it as ordinary, and that is where the mistake begins. Dogs do not always express pressure with dramatic behavior. Sometimes the important shift happens quietly, in a gesture so subtle you barely register it before it is gone. That does not mean every yawn is a problem. It does not mean every lip lick is a warning. It means small behavior still belongs to an emotional moment, and emotional moments have context. If you miss the context, you miss the dog. What you are looking at is not just a random movement. It may be your dog's internal state passing across their face, and most people never learn to read it. Lip licking does not tell its own story. Context tells it. That is the mistake most owners make. They see the tongue flick across the nose and file it under habit, dryness, or nothing at all. But mouth licking has been examined as a response to emotional stimuli, which means the behavior is not empty just because it is brief. It belongs to a moment. It happens in relation to something, a stare, a strange room, a hand reaching too fast, a child leaning in, a camera held too close. This is why watching the lick by itself will teach you almost nothing. Watching what happened 3 seconds before, it will teach you far more. Not every lip lick means stress. Not every lip lick means the dog is struggling. But treating it like meaningless background is how owners miss the emotional shift right in front of them. The behavior is small, the mechanism is not. Once you start asking what the dog just saw, heard, or felt before the lick, your reading of the dog becomes more accurate overall. Yawning sits in the same category. When owners see it so often that they stop seeing it at all. They assume the dog is tired, bored, winding down, or just being a dog. And sometimes that is true. But the mistake is treating the yawn as automatically meaningless. A yawn can show up in moments of pressure, awkwardness, restraint, or uncertainty, especially when the dog is trying to come down from something the body did not like. That is not drama. That is regulation. The dog is not always announcing distress in a loud way. Sometimes the nervous system is trying to lower its own volume, and the yawn is part of that process. This is why single signals matter less than clusters. The yawn, the lip lick, the turned head, the pause before approaching. Seen alone, each one looks forgettable. Seen together, they begin to describe an emotional picture. The risk is not that owners never witness these signals. The risk is that they witness them constantly and learn to ignore them until the bigger behavior finally arrives later. The picture changes again when you add yourself back into it. The issue is not only what the dog is doing. The issue is the social setting in which the dog is doing it. Owner presence has been evaluated in relation to indicators of fear in dogs. And that matters because it means your presence is not neutral background. It is part of the emotional environment. The dog is not responding only to a room, a sound, a stranger, or a situation. The dog is responding inside a relationship. That is why lip licking and yawning cannot be read like fixed symbols with one permanent meaning. The same dog, in a different social context, may not look the same at all. This is where many owners get too mechanical. They try to decode the signal and ignore the environment. But the environment includes them. You are not outside the moment. You are inside it. You affect it. You are not just watching the signal. You are part of the signal. The biggest mistake is treating one signal like a verdict. Owners see a yawn and decide the dog is stressed. They see a lip lick and decide something is wrong. But that is not observation, that is overreach. Mouth licking has been examined in relation to emotional stimuli, and owner presence has been evaluated in relation to indicators of fear in dogs. Both points matter for the same reason. Behavior lives inside emotional context. Emotional context lives inside environment, which means a single gesture, removed from the moment around it, you cannot carry the full meaning people try to force onto it. One yawn is not a sentence. One lip lick is not one either. What matters is the pattern. What happened before it? Who was there? What else the body was doing? Whether the same cluster appears again and again in similar moments. That is how you read the dog without turning every small movement into a diagnosis. And that distinction is what keeps the interpretation honest and grounded too. This is where one more study becomes useful. Not because it tells you to give your dog something, and not because this video is about treatment, but because it makes one point very hard to dismiss. Stress in dogs is not a vague idea people project onto normal behavior. It is a real state that can be examined in a specific setting, including something as ordinary as car travel. That matters. Because once you accept that stress can exist in a concrete context, with observable reactions around it, the small signals stop looking imaginary. They stop looking like overthinking. A lip lick in the back seat, a yawn before the engine starts, a change in the mouth, the eyes, the breathing, the posture. These are not always dramatic signals, but they belong to a real process, and that is the scope of the point. Not what you should buy, not what you should use, just this. If stress is real enough to be studied in a situation that specific, then noticing the early signs of it in daily life is not obsession. It is attention. So the rule is simple. Do not ask only whether your dog yawned. Do not ask only whether your dog licked their lips. Ask when it happened. Ask what was happening around it. Ask what the rest of the body was doing at the same time. Because small behavior is rarely the whole message. It is one piece of a larger emotional picture, and most owners miss that picture because they keep staring at the smallest part of it in isolation. That is the real shift. You stop hunting for one perfect sign and start reading the dog as a living context instead. That is how subtle body language becomes useful rather than dramatic. That is how you notice stress before it has to get loud. If this video made you rethink the signals you used to ignore, subscribe to Mr. Hidden Mind. Here, we do not just watch what dogs do, we look underneath it. And in the next video, we go deeper into the quiet stress signals most owners misunderstand until the behavior grows too big to miss.